do realistically against this situation in North Korea? And if they can do anything, what do they have to wait for before they can do it?
The first thing that we need to do is to impose sanctions through the United Nations Security Council. I'm happy to say that both Russia and China, members of the Security Council, made very strong statements, strongest statement that China has ever made as regards North Korea. Now we should move to a vote so that there are very strict sanctions, by the way, including stopping and searching vessels that go in and out of North Korea to determine that they're not carrying any materials that could be used for weapons of mass destruction. And I think the other thing, as I mentioned earlier, China must understand. Chinese basically prop up the North Korean regime with fuel and with food. And if they cut that off or threaten to cut it off, obviously it's the only effect that it could have on international behavior. Let me also remind you one problem with this dictator. If he didn't have nuclear weapons or the ability to develop them, he would be of no importance to us whatsoever. They have a gross national product that's about 1/10 of that of the state of Michigan. I mean, this is a failed state. And so this guy uses this as a way to strut on the world stage and get everybody's attention. Well, that wouldn't bother me so much, but as you probably know, they have artillery embedded in mountains and caves north of the DMZ that are capable of striking Seoul. And so you could, in the event of a conflict, they couldn't stand militarily, but in the meantime, an artillery barrage, they could literally set a city of a number of million people on fire. So this is a dangerous game we're engaged in. And I want to repeat again, it cannot be in China's interest to see this increased level of tension. I don't think they're Boy Scouts in Beijing. I don't appeal to the better angels of their nature. It just seems to me they should understand what is in their national interest. But sanctions is the first step, and pressure on China is the next step. And I believe that if for some reason the United Nations Security Council does not act, then I would have a coalition along with Japan and perhaps South Korea and maybe some other countries where we would impose sanctions ourselves.
And let me just dovetail on that. I also believe in what the Senator just said, but to go back to the kind of systemic thing about the UN, I almost look at it as we do as a parent, that there are times when if you continually say, one more of those and you're going to go to your room, one more of those and you're going to go, one more of them, and pretty soon you become irrelevant. They know there is no time when you're going to go to your room. And so the United Nations, when it takes a step and imposes sanctions, it has to actually impose those sanctions. There has to be consequences or they become irrelevant. I think largely on many of these critical issues, they have been. And I think that has to change.